All right, Jared, all set.
All right. Uh, I just like to put it out there that I'm nervous. I think that I wouldn't really be human if I wasn't nervous to speak for 30 minutes or whatever. But putting it out there just so I don't have to harbor it any longer. Um, yeah, let me begin. I'm Jared. I'm a kratom addict. Hillary called it out, the 6 months clean. Pretty much I Googled, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I was like, how many days is it for like the exact half year mark? And it came back like 182 and a half days. And I made it past the half of the day. So today I can officially say that I'm 6 months clean off Kratom. And yeah, I think that it's a wonderful time. Like the timing couldn't be better because it's a day before Thanksgiving, a day where we're always talking about how we're grateful for things. And the cool thing that I've noticed about getting off Kratom was the fact that I've already been practicing gratitude. When I was on Kratom, it'd be that one day a year, Thanksgiving. Oh, I'm grateful for you, reaching out to people. But I've kind of had like a Thanksgiving for the past 6 months with reaching out to whether it was friends, or family, you guys, and just expressing my gratitude. So, as far as I'm concerned, tomorrow's just a day to eat, and it's no different than any other day that I've been sober with the gratitude part. So, super grateful for this space and everybody that's made this possible for my sobriety. It's a very safe and nurturing community that's allowed me to grow in sobriety. So, once again, thankful for everyone that's made this possible. With that said, I'll get into sharing about myself. So, I was born in Walnut Creek, California, and pretty much I never really understood addiction, even though I was surrounded by it my entire life. um, I remember being 6 and seeing my mom come home drunk from work and whatnot, and my stepdad, who was an ex-convict, always just drunk, and I just thought adults were acting silly, like, in my opinion, like, it was just, or from my little perspective, I just noticed there was a difference, and it's like, okay, adults act silly sometimes. And I never really thought much of it until I became around 8 or 9. I became a little more aware of like drunkenness, and just the I wasn't really like aware of how it was impacting me, but I was just aware, okay, like when they drink this stuff, they get silly. And I remember having a lot of freedom as a child. My parents got divorced when I was 6, so that never really impacted me. And I didn't really know anything other than that. And but the freedom I remembered having with my mom always working nights, and pretty much my stepdad just being in and out of jail, in and out of prison. Um, I just remembered having a lot of freedom. Like the freedom kind of led me to a lot of trouble as a kid. And it really wasn't anything drug related at first. It was mainly just a lot of mischief, teeping people's houses, pouring cereal on people's lawns, putting like super glue in people's door locks of their cars, like a bunch of shit that would piss me off. But if it ever happens to me as an adult, I'd understand like I fully deserve it from the childhood I lived. And a lot of that was stemmed from having older brothers. I was the youngest sibling, and I looked up to my brothers for everything. And I always wanted to participate in doing whatever they were doing. So it kind of aged me a little quicker than, an 8 or 9 year old should have been. And I'd go out with them skateboarding all the time. I was cussing like a sailor by the age of 8, and kind of led to this one day where we went to play something called prison tag. I'll give you guys like a really quick rundown. Prison tag is like any tag game, but once you go to like jail, so to speak, if one of your teammates haven't been caught yet, they have the option of like sneaking around and tagging you so you can run out of prison and go and hide again. So they all got on the roof, and I remember I was always too little to get on the roof, but they had a friend that was kind of short for his age that kind of made this like little beam that allowed him to like climb up the beam and then get onto the roof. And being like the little monkey I was, I followed in his footsteps, and I climbed that beam and I got on the roof. First my brother was trying to get me off, but I talked him out of it, and we made like a little plan, like We're gonna let them know we're all on the roof. They're gonna come up, tag us. They're gonna think my brother's still on the roof somewhere and looking for him, but he was gonna sneak down this back tree no one knew that you could get down from. So that was our plan, and then it didn't really go according to plan. I remember waking up 2 weeks later in the hospital from an induced coma, and I was just wondering, like, where am I? What happened? And they let me know I fell off the roof. And normal roofs at every point, like, they go to a peak, and at one point this roof just went to a straight peak, and there was no downside to it because there was an AC unit outside. And what my friends told me is one of our buddies was chasing me. I was looking behind, and I pretty much ran right off the peak of the roof. He said I did like a 180 in air, tried to grab onto the ledge, and my fingers just grazed the peak. And then I did another 180 in air, landed kind of on my feet that swept from under me, and my head just impacted on the hard, solid dirt. And this was midsummer, so the dirt was pretty solid, as solid as any ground you stand on, almost, other than like concrete. But I was fortunate. I should have died that day. Like I wholeheartedly believe so. But something just I got lucky, so to speak. There was a sprinkler head. My head came pretty much a foot away from landing on. There was the AC unit I could have landed on and collapsed inward on, and probably would have just broke my neck. And then my head, because I landed like a foot away from that AC unit, was like 6 inches away from the concrete slab that held the AC unit in place. So there was just a lot of luck factor. I didn't break a single bone in my body except for my skull. I fractured my skull, and I remembered being told I was airlifted from Clayton, California at the time where I was living, to Children's Hospital in Oakland. And the reason I bring this story up is because I spent 2 weeks in an induced coma, 2 more weeks at the Children's Hospital, and then they sent me over to Kaiser for the rest of my inpatient care. And that was about another 2 months before I was released. And the whole time that I was like aware of being awake, everything that had happened to me, I lost about 3 minutes of memory, but they had me on a liquid IV morphine injection, like time release. And I just remembered getting these massive headaches as a kid, like unbearable. And I'd be screaming at the nurse, "Give me more morphine," like a little demon child. And I remembered right when that injection would go in, and I would just instantly just relax and kind of zone out. And that was my first exposure to drugs as a kid, and I had no idea what it was. I knew it made me feel better, and I remember being released 2 months later from the hospital, and that was my first withdrawal. Little did I know, I was throwing up, had the cold sweats. I just thought I had the flu as a kid. Really, nothing to relate it to, so I never thought anything of it. And I don't know if it opened up a can of worms, but later on in life, I kind of looked for anything and everything that would make me feel good and escape any type of emotional or physical pain. And the first drug I discovered was marijuana, and I started smoking when I was 14, and it was just kind of something to take away boredom, something to make me feel like I could relax, and they call it a gateway drug, and I don't know if it opened up the doors to other like things, but I'm sure it did. But before I ever discovered marijuana, I remember my grandpa. He moved in, never spent much time. Probably spent like 10 days with him out of my life until he moved in with us when I was 13. And I just remember one night we're chilling out back on the porch, and he's like, "You want to put some hair on your nuts? Take a shot of this." And he puts down a shot of vodka, and I was 13 at the time. I was like, "Oh, some hair on my balls? Okay, that sounds kind of good. Let's try it out, Grandpa." I took the shot, and I just remembered instantly getting that type of feeling, like outside of myself. And my grandpa, like, I love the hell out of him. And at the point, he had already raised his kids, so there's no judgment or no blame on his end. But he introduced me to a lot of stuff. He introduced me to cocaine, alcohol, and then I was introduced to marijuana kind of by my own means and my cousin allowing for me to do it with them. So between those three things, I was already off to the races by the age of 14, like experimenting with drugs, which kind of, escalated to trying meth. I tried uh, I was doing ecstasy from time to time on the weekends, 15 to 16. And then I remember around 17 years old, I discovered painkillers. And to me, it was like a game changer. I was like, wait, I can still eat out this stuff. I can still do what I need to do. But just like anything, any opioid, kratom related, it just slowly deteriorated where now you couldn't function. And I got into fentanyl, not fentanyl, Oxycontin for a while. And I was just snorting Oxycontin. Had a buddy that was getting a good deal on it, and he would always hook me up. So he was kind of just supplying me for a cheaper price. And I just remembered spiraling out of control. I was doing things that I don't associate with who I am naturally. I remembered stealing from family members, stealing from friends, doing anything and everything to get whatever drug I needed. And I'm not proud of that side of myself, but I've moved far from it. And I really don't identify with that being part of my personality. I just identify that being part of my addiction. And I didn't really have a choice over my addiction. Like, I know a lot of people might think of that the wrong way, but felt like my addiction chose me. And when I was ready, I found recovery, and I chose recovery. And I remembered recovering from all the hard shit. I still maintained smoking weed throughout 14 all the way until I was 33. And everything else I had cut off at like the age of 18 or 19. And it's like someone hit a reset button on my brain. I lost all my social cues. Felt like I was just set back so much with my knowledge, with memory, with relationships, with just how to even conduct myself. And took about like 4 or 5 years to really fully recover from all the hard drugs I had done in the past before I felt like, okay, I'm back on my feet. I'm making strides in the right direction. I have goals. I'm going back to junior college. I'm taking care of what I need to take care of. I'm working at the same time, holding a healthy relationship, and I'm being as the best family member I could possibly be to my to everyone within my family. And that's when kratom kind of came into my life. I remembered the first day I ever took it. My brother's wife, she was just talking. I was like, yeah, I get kind of tired and everything. My studies are intensifying. Like, it kind of sucks. I get all these random back pains from sitting down so much. She's like, have you ever tried kratom? I was like, no. We're like, kratom? What's that? And she was like, here. And she put a couple scoops in my cup and mixed it up with like some orange juice. And she said, just chug it. And I chugged it, and I remember not really feeling much from it. And it was just like, I don't know. It really didn't. It didn't affect me at first. I didn't know what to feel. She was like, in small doses, it works like caffeine. In large doses, it works like an opioid. And she gave me this big old bag of pills and said, here, you could have these. These are free samples. So I was like, okay. And I remember going to a baseball game like 2 days later, and we had like one of those little booths. Like, it was like some business thing that my dad and some clients were there. And I just remember taking some of those capsules, and I had a bunch of chemistry homework. And for some reason, I brought some of that with me to take care of during like slow parts of the game. And I don't remember a single thing about that game other than just sitting there in one place studying my chemistry homework. And it to me, it was like godsend. I was like, wow, I found a cure. Like, I had no back pain that whole time. I was able to like maintain my focus on one task and not get all distracted. I'm at a baseball game, for Christ's sake, and I'm still able to just get my work done. And to me, it was amazing. Like, I thought I had found something that could really help me out through my studies. And so that's what I used it for at first. The main purpose of it, I really wasn't even in pain at the time. It was just to hyper focus on one task at a time. And it worked like that for about 6 months or a year before I started to notice, like, I'm getting all these other symptoms. I feel anxious if I don't have it. I feel sweaty. Like, my palms are all like, I can't even think of the word right now, but just pretty much sweat all over my palms, and just feeling a form of disease, like just not feeling okay within my own skin. And I still was denying it at that time. I was just like, oh, I'm a little off today. And then probably 2 years or 3 years into my kratom use, I really started to notice a difference where I have to take this shit. Like, I had gone a couple days if I had ran out of money or one thing or another, where it just wasn't working anymore. Like, without it, I was miserable, and with it, it wasn't doing what it had used to do. And I was just literally dependent on this thing to feel normal. And that's what I called normal at the time. And that's what I accepted normal at the time. To me, I would look at like people my age that were able to go out and do stuff like physically, even people that were older than me. Like when I found disc golf, there was like this old lady that was like 62 and she could go play three different courses, 3 rounds in one day. And I would just be exhausted after the first round. And I thought something was just wrong with my health. I thought like maybe from past injury where had my jaw broken in 3 places, and the surgery was causing some type of complications with like blood flow. I was making every excuse, and then COVID came, and I was blaming everything on COVID. And I was just in denial that kratom was playing a big role in like my health deteriorating. I was getting all these outside opinions from people like your scale, your face looks very pale, and your face always looks swollen, like it's retaining a lot of water, almost like hypertension. And I was just ignoring it, and then it got to a point where I lost a massive amount of weight, and pretty much within 6 months, I had gone from probably like 135, which I was already pretty skinny just from the years of kratom use, and completely losing my drive to do anything other than just take kratom. Uh, I got down to 122 pounds near the end, and I still didn't recognize it in myself. Like I knew my arms were feeling really like dangly, and like my legs were always having these weird types of pulse in my calves where I felt like, and even my veins looked like the like I was 60 years old almost in my calves, where like they were starting to pop out and look like bluish green almost like. And I was still in denial. I was still thinking like this is my life, and kratom helps me more than it does harm. And but once I went to the doctors, I was sleeping about 16 hours a day for a week straight. And I just thought I was dying of cancer. I looked at myself, everything was sunken in, and my body was just saying enough is enough. And I probably would have ignored it if I was still sleeping like 8 hours a day and like feeling like shit the rest of the day. But I was literally I would fall asleep and wake up for like 30 minutes, have enough energy to like do something, walk around the house, and then I'd literally lay back in bed and fall back asleep for another like 6 hours. And that's when it just became apparent that something's going on and I need to get checked up. So I went into the doctors, and I had sunken in cheekbones. He weighed me, and I was 122 pounds, and I just started crying. I couldn't believe that I was 122 pounds. To me, it made no sense. I look at myself every day. How am I 122 pounds? And my doctor thought I was a fentanyl addict because at the time I thought the nicotine was possibly doing it. So I had like a nicotine patch on my side. And I think he thought it was a fentanyl patch. He thought I was like some drug addict, which kind of was to a certain extent. And I just had to break down to him what kratom was, what its effects are, how it's probably becoming an ongoing issue, like ongoing issue, and it's going to grow in popularity. So like something you might want to educate himself on for future patients. And I just broke it down to him, and I got to a point where I got home after that. The doctor ordered all kinds of tests, and pretty much everything came back inconclusive. Like there was really nothing telling me I didn't have cancer. Like my white blood cell count wasn't high. Like so, I was still just trying to determine in my head what the hell is really going on. And that's when I was still trying to take a little bit of kratom, but my body was rejecting it now. And I remembered going to sleep on my mind, telling myself, okay, like I've gotten to such a low amount of kratom because I can't even digest it right now, that I'm going to try either taking a break or just getting off this shit. And I woke up at night, like probably 3 in the morning. I had a serving that was like half taken, drank the rest of it. At first, it made me feel a little better. And then I just started feeling like shit, like I was going to throw up again. And I went back to bed. I woke up the next day, and I just was in my own head telling myself that was my last serving, but I don't know how that's possible. So I started researching on Facebook, just any type of support group, because I'd tried quitting in the past. I've gone 30 days, but it wasn't like with the intention to quit permanently. It was with the intention like I've got to prove to myself that I have a hold over my addiction. And by the time I got to like day 27 or 28, I was like, oh, I went 28 days with nothing holding me back. Like might as well just get back on it. Like it's not a problem. I'll be able to control my addiction. And excuse me, we know where that goes. I failed miserably. Like the first week, I was sticking to my game plan. By the second week, I was just on every single day, taking it as much as I was before. So this go around, I knew that I needed extra help other than like myself. Like I tried it on my own and I failed miserably, and I was like, I can't be the only one that feels this way. Like there's got to be other people. And then I found the Quitting Kratom support group on Facebook, and that's the first time it kind of opened my eyes that one, there's like a large amount of people that are dealing with the same struggles I have, and two, the group just kind of like took me under their wings and just gave me all kinds of advice. And I remembered feeling just so understood, and feeling like there was actual hope again to get off this shit. And that was hard to accept at first. Like that there were other people like me struggling, but at the same time, it felt, as bad as it is to say, like I felt grateful that there was other people struggling with it too, because I felt like I wasn't alone anymore with this addiction. It became so isolating. I literally cut off all my relationships. And so anyways, fast forward a little bit, 30 days removed from Kratom. I found probably within like a week or so, I found these meetings. I was starting to introduce myself to some of the people that are here today. And I remember just changes happening so fast. Even within the first 2 weeks, I started getting sleep again. By week three, my skin felt like it was like glowing a little bit. Like the water retention was kind of going away. I was drinking a tons of water, apple juice, anything to hydrate, really, smoothies. And by week 30, I weighed myself again when I went back into the doctors, and I was already at 135 pounds. I was like, holy shit, like I gained 13, 14 pounds in 30 days. So obviously the kratom was having an effect on everything I was doing. And it just became so eye-opening that kratom had become the problem. And I was putting the blame on everything else in my life, that it was just a no-brainer. I was telling myself, like, one, I've got like this community that I'm starting to really grow accustomed to leaning on in my time of need. And at the same time, I really got lost in service in the first 30 days, encouraging anybody that was new. And it gave me a sense of purpose within like my quit, letting other people know, like, look, I made it to 30 days, all these changes have happened. And if I can do it, you can do it too. And I remember that sense of purpose also being a huge part of my recovery. And even the first day, I hate to jump back, but I remembered just getting on my knees and praying and letting my higher power know, like, I can't do this on my own. And this was before I found the group. And I just said, uh, I'm putting my addiction at your feet. It's not mine anymore. It's yours. Just remove it from me. I can't do it without you. And sure enough, 2 days later, I found the group. And so anyways, I got to 30 days, and things were just going so much better. I felt like a breath of new life. I was pushing myself at times, and I could tell my body was still malfunctioning. Like especially the first week or so, I didn't know if I was ever going to be normal. My lymphatic system felt like it was shutting down. My cardiovascular was just shutting down. My heart rate would go up for any reason. Just having this tightnesses in my, like a stiff tightness in my neck all the time from any type of activity. Um, I was in a lot of pain that I brought upon myself. I just related to like hypersensitivity to pain just because of numbing myself for so long. And then I was smoking cigarettes or my e-cigarette for 7.5 years while addicted to kratom, and doing all this damage to scar tissue that already existed from a pre-existing injury. And so since I was just numbing all that pain, it just came back tenfold. And I remember being in a lot of pain for the first 60 days, but kept telling myself, even if I have to live with this pain for the rest of my life, it's better than like how I felt before. And I know like there's a chance I can recover from this, as opposed to continuously taking kratom, knowing that like nothing will ever change. So I leaned on that for hope, and people kept encouraging me. I found out that, hey, Advil takes away some pain. Like, go figure. Like, I would take an Advil for my massive migraines, or TMJ from the jaw surgery, and It wouldn't always work right away or super effective, but it would lessen the symptoms or if not completely alleviate them. And I was like, wow, like, okay, so you take things the proper way and you get your body kind of back to normal and they actually have an effect. Go figure. And I just remember that being a game changer. But by day 60, I would say my pain went from like a 9 or 10 day to day basis of dealing with it down to about a 5 or a 4. And I'd still have these little symptoms here and there. But I got to, yeah, actually day 55 where uh, I just decided to jump with cannabis. I had already jumped with my e-cigarette. The two, Kratom and my e-cigarette, were married. I remember that 30-day break where I could not put down my e-cigarette if my life depended on me. And anytime I'd hit my e-cigarette without kratom, it would not have the same effect. And I remembered it driving me back to kratom because I was like, I want to be able to enjoy my e-cigarette again. So this go around, my health was so bad when I first got off kratom. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try cutting out the e-cigarette as well. So those two are kind of 2 days apart, and then 55 days in, once I felt like my mood was kind of naturally regulated, and I wasn't really relying so much on cannabis to help me with getting off my e-cigarette. I got to a point where I felt confident enough from the love and support of this group, and confident enough from my within myself, like self confidence to just say, "Hey, I'm going to try cutting out the cannabis and see what happens too." And a part of that motivation was making plans for future jobs. And part of that plan was trying to be the best version of myself so I can start working a program like NA or something along those lines where I could help other people out with their addiction to kratom and not have anything holding me back feeling like a fraud. And I'm not saying anything about cannabis. I still believe that it's definitely, it has its purpose, and depending on the individual, I think that there's a lot of medical benefits to it. So I'm not here to judge anybody for anything you do. I just know for me, my life path was starting to direct me towards just trying to become as pure as possible away from drugs, to try to find out what it means to be Jared when he's not chasing after a high to deal with any type of problem. And it's been difficult, but it's been sustainable because of groups like this. I have a sponsor. I go to meetings in person. I try to attend these meetings once a day. I've probably missed since I quit kratom maybe like a handful, maybe two handfuls days worth of meetings, and it holds me accountable. I try to find an accountability buddy or people I can reach out to in my time of need, and there's still things I struggle with, and it's 6 months out. Like, I'm not trying to paint a picture that everything's perfect, and I'm not trying to paint a picture that everything's miserable. It's there's a balance with life and with feeling your emotions again. There's stressful days in normal life without using drugs, and there's beautiful days that I don't miss out on emotionally that have happened. And when I kind of wrap it up, I just feel like this wouldn't be possible without you guys. And life sober has been very gratifying. Getting through these holidays, I know tomorrow might be a stressful day for individuals, and if it is, I just encourage you to reach out to us, to anybody that can help, because we're all here for each other. I know that holidays can be a big trigger, and that's something that I'm still around. I'm still living in a household where people are drinking. I'm still living in a house where people are taking hits of weed and blowing it in my face, essentially, not like directly in my face, like how's this smell? More like just in the room, and kind of bathing in their smoke. And I'm still around a full household of smokers, so it hasn't been easy with my urges. There's been a lot of urges for cannabis again. There's been a lot of urges for smoking cigarettes and nicotine again, my e-pen especially. But I just realized that I have the support I need now. That's something I couldn't really say in my life ever. As far away as some of you might live, I feel like with the amount of time I spend with you guys, you might as well be next door neighbors and someone I can confide in, and someone I can ask for advice. There's always an individual that can relate to a certain situation I'm going through. And even if they can't, have some good perspective that I can gain just to relearn and work on that neuroplasticity, work on developing my brain in a new way of thinking and a new way of living. So yeah, I'm really grateful. I am. I'm so grateful for everything I've been able to gain so far within these past 6 months. And someone shared yesterday about sometimes it took them a year to really feel like things got stable enough where they could start pushing themselves outside the boundaries. And that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to give myself a lot of slack, realize that it's okay that I'm not feeling like I fully recovered. I was on the shit for 7.5 years. Like, I even told myself, "Be patient, even if it takes another 7.5 years to feel completely normal again, that's okay," because I refuse to go back. There's just no other option for me. I know exactly where it will lead me, and, these days, I'm more about, pursuing things where it's not so certain, but there's a lot of possibilities of healing and, pretty much growing. I'm tired of being stagnant, so with that said, I think I might have went over a little bit, but that's pretty much the gist of my story, and I appreciate you guys for listening to me.
Jared, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I